So I thought maybe we could just begin with how I know this film was made over many, many years. So it'd be great to just hear about the moment you decided to start making this film and how that came to be.
Yeah, it was in 2014 when I was a volunteer in a local organization, cultural organization, which is called If China Original Studio, which aimed to develop local documentary filmmakers. And they had a project called 1,000-hour film, a story of birth. So it's basically a project that invite everybody to interview their mothers about their birth story. And that was part of it. So I took a small DV camera back to home and started to interview my mother about my birth story. And then as she talked, it reveals more than my own story. It reveals my younger sister's story and even more. And so I took that. I made that video and added a short version of it, and then I went back to my college. I was still a college student back then. And one day, my elder sister made a phone call. No, she texted me and told me that she's pregnant and she would abort the baby if it's gonna be a girl again. And I was shocked. It reminded me, like directly reminded me of the video that the interview I had with my mom about what she has experienced during her pregnancy and during the abortions of different girls. And in particular, what Jing has experienced for being a girl. So that's when I decided to took my camera back home and to start to ask questions, to get answers, I guess.
So you made this film over 7 years, I think.
Yes.
And I imagine you were shooting so much, and there's probably hundreds of hours of footage. And I'm so impressed by how beautifully you weave together in the edit all of these different time periods together, because the film really isn't straight chronology. You kind of go back and forth in time, which I think works so nicely. Can you talk about how you came to find kind of the structure for the piece?
Yeah, the first rough cut I had, or the first few version of the film is actually made for myself. So I know all the people in the film. I'm so familiar with them. So I didn't think about like, what about other people see this film? Will they recognize who is who? So I added a few versions of it and I showed it to some of my friends and they watched it and they were like pretty critical about the fact that they couldn't recognize who is who. In the first few version, I tried to interweave Jean's birth story with her current conflict with my parents, and also with my elder sister's story about being kind of feeling obligated to have a son. So everything is interweaved together from the beginning till the end. And because I am so familiar with them, I have no problem in understanding them, but other people has. So I decided to like. That's when I realized that this is gonna be a film. Like it's gonna have audience. Like other people will also watch it. So I decided to recut it, and then I started to like think about the structure of putting the first 1 hour as Jean's story. with her birth story, but also with her conflict with my parents, and her relationship with my entire family. And then the next part of the story is my elder sister Lee's story. And then my younger brother. And then the last part of the film is that comes back to Jean's relationship with my family and my efforts to trying to reconcile them. And at the same time, Jean, my elder sister Lee and my younger brother Sifan joined into this scenario. I think this is more clear to the audience. Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about your own kind of role in the film? Because I think it's, you know, we're obviously kind of with you along the way. You're the person asking all the questions, and you're of course, deeply part of the family. You're, so integrated in it. But yeah, how did you think about your own portrayal and the moments when you decide to, bring yourself in front of the camera, when you set up the camera and you go into the field to help your sister with the rice, or, when we see you kind of framing the shot of the interview you'll do with your mother, or the very end when you to ask your sister to, kind of take the camera and turn it around to you. So yeah, curious to hear how you kind of thought about that.
I was a very timid child, like when I was very little, until I went to college, until I started to film this story. I was so timid that I didn't have any courage to ask questions to my parents about the past. But the camera is kind of a weapon for me to take the courage to start asking questions. And I feel being protected by having a camera on my hand, so that this is kind of force to me for me to like it forces me to ask questions, because I want answers so badly. And gradually camera became a part of me. Like it's hard for me to separate myself from the camera. In my daily life, I filmed everything, basically everything in my family. And gradually my family members also felt they felt very little uh, the existence of the camera, because I hold it every day. It becomes a part of me for me, also become part of me for them. So for me, I am the filmmaker of the story, but more as a sister, a daughter, and a family member in the film. Yeah, camera. Being a filmmaker is an accident. It is because I need courage from the camera.
I'd say 90% of the film is this footage that you've shot, kind of these intimate dialogues with your family. But then there are these portions that really stood out to me, where you're doing something a bit different, which, at the very beginning of the film, we see this, you kind of track this painting on the wall of, I think, goddess Kuan Yin, and you're kind of telling the story of that. And then there's this beautiful drone shot, which is also quite a departure from the other kinds of footage we're seeing, as well as this moment when you're recounting a dream over this landscape of trees. I wondered if you could talk about how you came to kind of construct these moments, and as they kind of stand out in terms of style.
The portrait of going in from the pen shot of the wall is actually a story that my parents used to tell me about like their own stories of like the text on the screen with the Guanyin features. It's actually the real story, like half real, half fairy tale, something that my parents used to tell me to show how badly they wanted a song and the effort they have made to get a song. So it's a part of my childhood memory. Like I believed it when I was a child. When I first heard that, I believed it so much. Um, which to me is ironic but also sweet. So I decided to put the story at the beginning with the Guanyin feature. The Guanyin feature is actually an accident. I was walking. During the course of shooting this film, I was walking. Like I traveled from places to places where I was not shooting. So I was walking in this city, the same city of my hometown, and then I went to a Buddhist temple, and I saw the entire wall of the Guanyin features, and at that moment I felt that this could be something for this project, but I was not clear how it's gonna be used. But I still decided to film it first. Is is at the it's at the editing stage that I decided to combine the story, the fairy tale story with the wine feature at the beginning. As for the other shots like the John shots and the dream scene, because I want something. It talks about birth, but also talks about death. So I wanted something transcendental, like go beyond the reality. And but these shots are randomly shot by me. I saw it in front of my eyes, and I felt that this is so pretty, and I want it. So I recorded everything that I think might be possible a part of this film. So I shoot them, and then at the editing stage, I feel that this specific footage really fits into my need of taking some of the moments beyond the reality. Like it's also a I don't know, might be a way for me to include my other sisters that were aborted, that are dead. So there are also a lot of shots of looking down to the town like a god view, but it's actually not a god view. It might be a ghost view.
You were speaking about how the camera kind of gave you courage to access these stories about your family. And I'm just wondering how, it basically allowed you to have these conversations that you wouldn't have otherwise. And I'm curious how the film itself has, I mean, I'm sure it's hard to, parse, but how the film has kind of shifted your family dynamics. Curious if you've shown it to the finished version to everyone and what the responses have been.
They were never seen the entire film. I only showed a trailer, a 4 minute trailer to them, because I need while talking about the release form, I need to show something to them, and I'm not going to show the film to them at least in these years, because there are so many scenes of them complaining about each other. And if I show this to them, like my parents say something, hear something that Jane was talking about, complaining about them, it's gonna make their relationship worse. But right now, their relationship are getting better, a little bit better than in the film. So I want to protect this by keeping them away from this film at this moment.
I think we have time to open up to the audience for 1 or 2 questions. I'll just quickly repeat the question about her process of editing and how many versions of the film there were.
I can't remember how many versions I have, but it might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess 5 or 6 versions of it. And yeah, editing is very challenging to me. I spent an entire year to finish the transcription of the footage, and then next 2 to 3 years to get different versions of it. Yeah, it's very challenging.
Just going to repeat the question. It is, how is Jing doing now?
She is doing good. She moves to a distant city with her husband, and now she's working in a factory, and she is pregnant with her second baby. And most importantly, her relationship with my parents and my sister is pretty much better than before.
So since being away, further away, the relations have improved?
Yeah, I think distance, time and distance may not solve any problem, but they can at least heal the wound at some extent. So I think that helps this relationship. It's because I'm so familiar with them, so sometimes I can predict what is going to happen, and I will start to shoot. And for a long time, I'm obsessed with shooting long takes. Some of my takes are pretty long, some of them are 2 hours for one take. Some of them can be 30 minutes or shorter or longer, because that gives me more opportunity to capture more details. And I love surprise. Spending more time shooting them I can harvest more surprises with non-stop filming. Yeah, but it challenges the editing process, to be honest. But it's worthwhile, in my opinion.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us and for the incredible film.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for watching it. Thank you for spending 3 hours with this film. Thank you very much.